guys, what is up? So I wanted to make a video with Chad because he was with me the entire time. Huge shout out, so grateful. So I was in the hospital last week. It was rather challenging. So I had an obstruction. I know it sounds so sexy, right? And it's such a topic that, in my personal opinion, is not talked about, and it's something that people kind of just keep to themselves, but it's a part of life and it's what happens. And it happened to me, and it happened to me 7 years ago, and you were there. Chad has Crohn's disease, so he kind of understood a little bit, and he kind of helped me.
I do understand.
Yeah, okay. Why did I have a bowel obstruction?
Basically, it's like the easiest way to put it into perspective. It's the hose. Your intestine is a hose, okay? And if you put something in a hose and it gets clogged, the water is not going to come out. That's my easiest easiest analogy. But your intestine is very pliable, and my closest analogy is like a hose, and water flows through a hose. But if it gets clogged, the hose won't work. Even
it got clogged.
For an example, even if you kink a hose, the water doesn't go through. So basically, that's what was happening with your intestine.
Okay, but why was it happening to me? Like, why doesn't this happen
all the time?
Yeah, like, why was this just like on a whim? I mean, it was Monday. I started, so last week, Tuesday I went into the hospital. By Monday evening, I just wasn't feeling right. And my symptoms prior to on Monday was I didn't want to eat a lot. And then when I woke up Tuesday, I really didn't have an appetite. But we can go into that why, because I wasn't hungry for days. And then by Tuesday evening, I was getting very uncomfortable around my waist area. But why did this happen, and how come it's like the last time it happened was 7 years ago? Why isn't it happening all the time?
I think, again, I'm not a doctor, so don't understand my advice, but they are so quick to see, hey, there's an obstruction, let's get it out, okay? And my reason is, why did she get it? The whole aspect of it.
Did I eat something? Was I stressed?
Yes, and that's where I think a lot of these factors come down to, because she didn't eat anything unusual. I made stew, and it was just it was basically a bunch of carrots, potatoes, and but it was softly cooked. But for some reason, it all happened
that was the last thing I ate. But what he did, he mentioned this, and it kind of made sense. Was he asked me how I was feeling prior to knowing that it was an obstruction Tuesday night. That weekend prior, so Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I was in horrible pain with my upper body, my head. I was just really, really tense.
She's tense and stressed. And so your body starts reacting, and your intestines and everything starts getting, imagine a stress. That's why it's hard to explain a hose, but when your body gets if you get stressed out and you flex or something, your body becomes tense, and that's what was happening, I think, with her gut.
So I didn't know that when you get really tense and really stressed out, that it affects your gut as well.
Somebody with Crohn's, because I've actually dealt with blockages before, and they've passed. It was very scary. We went to one hospital. They didn't give her a medication that she liked, so she was more stressed.
I was way more stressed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Tuesday night, when we went to the first hospital, I was going in there stressed, and then when they gave me a pain medicine that I did not want, we didn't want it. I was scared, and then he saw how scared I was. I was even more tense because I didn't want that, and I was just fighting it.
And back to that, if you ever deal with this and you know a medication works for you, stay with it.
Advocate for yourself, because I told him when we were in the ER, I said, this is not going to work. This pain, it was fentanyl. I was like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And bless Chad's heart, he just wanted me to feel better because I was screaming, but I knew it wasn't going to work. And what happened?
It didn't work.
It didn't work. We signed ourselves out of that hospital. We had to sign a paper saying that we weren't going to take their advice and stay. And then he drove me.
We literally just had to do the same thing again.
We went back to UCLA, and it was 10 times worse. And they took me very quickly. Why wasn't I hungry? Leading up, even Monday and Tuesday, before I went into the hospital, I really wasn't hungry.
Because your gut is the short answer is it's on fire. It's it's trying to push this food through, and in turns it's actually the food or whatever the blockage is starting to bruise her intestine and starting to like. The easiest way for me explaining it is that if I'm just sitting here like punching on her, punching, eventually she's gonna bruise.
Yeah.
So that's the reason she wasn't hungry is because
wasn't it feeding?
Her stomach basically thought there's food in there, so it's like it's not telling.
Even though it's days old.
She's not properly digesting, so it's like it's just telling her that, hey, you know, if there's food in there, I don't need to tell you you're hungry. You don't need to eat. So it's all kind of like a natural, like her brain and her brain and her gut is very connected. It was
feeding off whatever was still in me. Their plan was, when I got to the ER, was to stick a tube down my nose into her stomach. Into my stomach.
So basically, the plan of that is it pulls whatever in her stomach, and that creates like a chain reaction, and then her system will start moving, and then everything will come up and come down, and it'll start basically flowing like normal. So I knew that was a pretty aggressive way to approach this, and
we'd done that before 7 years ago, and it was horrible, but we wanted to try something different,
which was me advocating for this.
we both had to really advocate, and thankfully we had doctors and doctors that were like, okay, I'm gonna trust you on this because you know your body. But both of us had to speak up. And when he was at work or doing things, thank you. When he was at work doing things, I was like, I need you here because I need help advocating. And we were like, let's get this body moving and let's get walking. So once they had given me the pain medicine,
that's the crucial thing, and that's what I want to go back to.
The right pain medicine.
It was able to get her out of pain.
And I was like, relax.
Which was the first thing to do. And then, unfortunately, it was just time. We had to wait.
It was literally 4 days in the hospital.
But she had to wait, and then it could have been 2 if she would have done that too. But then that would have been, I think,
it would have been aggressive and hard on me. And
so I think we did everything the right way. So she took the pain meds.
And then I started walking.
She stayed comfortable. That was very important. She started walking, and then basically created the natural system, basically to move the
getting this valve to keep going.
Initial straw that broke the camel's back is because she finally got the blockage through, and then once that happened, it was just basically her system started working again. They kept her on liquids. I snuck her food because I knew she needed something.
I needed it. And I knew that it was going to be okay.
But I snuck her like juice and, just very simple.
Apple juice really works for me.
So she was like starving, and then I knew the blockage was passing through. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I just knew we needed to start somewhere. So we started with the apple juice. Everything started moving pretty solidly. But then she needed to eat. But the whole thing with that is you need to incorporate the food slowly. Because it's basically like starting over again, and your intestines hurt. So you need to be very gentle, and that was like the biggest thing. Like the steps was to get the blockage through, and then introduce food like gently, and then just keep her hydrated, and then make sure you're chewing all your food, and then that's where the initial recovery has started, and she's doing well now. So we basically started with broth, juices, and clear liquids to start. She got those in the hospital.
Applesauce, Jello.
Yes, Jello,
and then when we got home,
I just basically started making her soups. And again, I was kind of like saying vegan or not. I made her just basically a chicken noodle soup. I just did noodles, chicken, and pretty much I made my own broth. Pretty simple. I added the celery and carrots, but I cooked it. But it was soft.
Cooked very, very, very soft.
So just cook all your food. But it depends on what you're trying to achieve with her. She needs to have solid food. So like sweet potatoes. Potatoes were okay, but I was explaining to her this is very important. You have to mix your food, and if you're eating potatoes only, you have to mix it with some kind of fiber item. So like protein and potatoes go good together. It's like her problem was she likes vegetables, and she could just eat like a plate of basically like vegetable squash.
But then it goes right through me because I have only my small intestines. So I have to eat them at home or somewhere. But he was telling me that if I eat it, I needed to eat it with what?
If you're eating something high fibrous, eat something with something starchy. It balance. You want that balance, and you always want protein, whether it's again animal protein, or if you're vegan, like beans or something like that. That's gonna balance the fiber. It's gonna balance everything together. to have a normal flowing intestine, basically.